Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey guys, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is the Bible Bistro, the finest Bible bistro on the internet, and we serve it up hot and fresh here every day. Come on in, sit down. The Bible Bistro is open. We've got some really delicious stuff this week. Oh my. I hope you'll stay with Daily Dose Radio every day this week. We are doing Psalm 32. And brothers and sisters, I mean to tell you, you won't find a better one than this one. Well, I say that about all of them, don't I? Yeah, well, this one's really good, okay? You don't want to miss a minute. I want you to come back and listen to Daily Dose Radio concerning Psalm 32 all this week, but I really want you to read it and meditate on it this week because, wow, it is so good. Oh, we need this stuff. So Psalm 32 is a maskil of David. A maskil. Now, that's a Hebrew word that has been transliterated for us because the meaning of it is, well, it's not quite certain, but it comes from a word that's used in this psalm, and we'll get to that word later on this week, and that word is to instruct. So this is, most people will translate maskil as an instructional psalm or something instructional, so you're learning here. So that's what David wants for us. He wants us to learn, and Psalm 32 has this introduction, a maskil of David, or a learning psalm of David. So it's for instruction. He's instructing us in something. And notice right away, the very first two verses, and I'm going to treat this 2 verses at a time this week, I think until we get to verse 9. In verse 9, I'm going to do 9, 10, 11. So the first 2 verses, we have Beatitudes. Notice what he says. Let me read those for you. Blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord does not impute iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. So we have 2 blesseds right off the bat. First word in verse 1, first word in verse 2. Blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven. So when we think about Beatitudes, of course, we famously think of Matthew chapter 5. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So Jesus speaks these Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5, but the majority of Beatitudes are found in the Psalms, and if you go back and compare the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5 to what you find in the Psalter, you'll find that there's a lot of comparison between the two, and I think what Jesus was doing there was he was taking the Old Testament scriptures and he was applying them for us in the New Testament, making them real, relating it to Messiah's kingdom. Well, here we have 2 right off the bat in verses 1 and 2, and the very first beatitude that, of course, we remember is Psalm 1. Blessed is the man who walks not in the way. Remember that? So that man who doesn't walk, stand, or sit in the way of sinners, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. That's why he's blessed. Here we have, blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered, who the Lord does not impute iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. This is not a lawkeeper that's being blessed. No, this is someone who has received mercy, because you'll notice he has transgression, you'll notice he has sin, and you'll notice that he has iniquity because God does not impute. It says the Lord does not impute iniquity to this blessed man because his sin has been covered. And what's his sin covered by? The blessedness comes because of the mercy of God who has not imputed. That is, he has not charged this man with his own iniquity, but it's covered. What's it covered by? And that word covered we're going to find again in this psalm down in verse 5. Verse 5 is a very, very important verse in the psalm. We'll get to that later on. Well, I'm out of time. We'll do some more of this tomorrow. We'll cover again the end of 2, and we'll pick up in 3 and 4 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.